Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm at Electronica 2024 and I'm joined by Markus Aschenbrenner from Zollner. Markus, always a pleasure to talk to you. We had a really nice chat on stage at the IPC EMS seminar in Gdansk and we didn't record it. So I'm not going to ask the same questions again because I kind of sense that between then and now the market hasn't changed. The market remains challenging.
Yeah.
People suspect those challenges are going to be well into next year. Is that how you see it at the moment? Timing wise?
You have to separate a little bit, because if I talk about the market, it's not all over the globe the same situation that we see right now. So the US is doing very well. Asia is also not doing bad. There's a little bit of downturn in China, or not that much growth in China than we used to see in the past, but the rest is good.
Yeah.
So the downturn is really in Europe and especially in Germany. So that's where we have the downturn.
Yeah.
And for Germany and Europe, I really see that the downturn also going into the next year. And if you would have asked me last year, I would have said, okay, second half of 24 we see an upturn.
Yeah.
I think hearing customer this week, it will be the second half of next year. But there's so much insecurity in all the discussions that I had this week with customers and also with our partners in supply chain. So much insecurity I haven't seen for a while. And this is really, we look forward in 25 that during the second half and during the end, I think should get better because then all the stocks should come down. So I expect that there's something happening.
Yeah, no, I'm inclined to agree. We've managed to get the other challenges I think that were stressing the market were political elections coming up and also interest rates coming down in the US. We've seen 2 rate cuts from the Fed since we last spoke. We've seen the result of the presidential election. The issue with there might be we're heading into a perhaps more protectionist environment, which again makes you think about manufacturing geography, where you should be, where that footprint should be. How challenging is it for you to predict where people are going to want you to make stuff? And is it about designing the footprint or designing agility into the footprint?
That's not an easy question to answer, and it's not easy to answer for the different customers that we have in the different industries. But what we did as a group is to prepare for that. You are watching us since years already, and you saw what we did over the last couple of years.
Well, also the last decades as well.
We developed our footprint the way that we could manufacture all of the needs of our customers in the different geographies, and that's exactly what we did and what we continue. So with the acquisition of EIT on the East Coast, we have 3 sites on the East Coast, 2 on the West Coast. So we're quite well equipped in the US. In the meantime, Costa Rica, we are tripling the floor space there right now. So that's again to deal with what we think will happen, that there's business moving into the US. Partly driven by the government of protectionism, partly also driven by our customers saying we need to get there in order to address the market. That's the one side, and on the other side, our China Plus strategy we just announced this week that we made an acquisition in Thailand with Bluechips, and that's exactly to accommodate with those things that we see that there's a need, desperate need from our customers that need to have another footprint in Asia in order to bring products out of China, but keeping it locally in Southeast Asia, and therefore the strategy is pretty clear that China will be a manufacturing spot for the local demand. Whether it is a Chinese customer or an international customer looking for the Chinese market, but it will be manufactured in China, and Thailand will be then the spot for us where we can ship all over the globe. Because there's nearly no restrictions out of Thailand, and that's how we're preparing for exactly the things that you were mentioning.
And it makes perfect sense. It was interesting. Actually, I bumped into Stefan Weiss today, who I hadn't seen for a while. Couldn't believe he'd been in California for 13 years.
He's long-term there.
He hasn't aged at all, though, bless him. But he was telling me how delighted he was with the EIT thing and how it was a good cultural fit for you. When you look at companies like Bluechip and those we used to Zollner putting their own facilities in places, so it's automatically your culture. When you're acquiring, it must be really important to try and at least recognize some matching culture.
So we are not doing it the usual way, hiring an M&A company who is looking for candidates. We do it a little bit different. That we have a good network. We know a lot of companies, and it's actually what you're saying. We are a family-owned company with an own culture, and that culture is very important for us because you were visiting most of our sites, and I think you have a very good overview that the culture that we have in Germany. We already developed that culture around the globe in all our sites,
and it works. And your
it
customers
works.
expect it.
And our customers are expecting this and like that, and especially then if we are acquiring a company, one of the really things where we spend a lot of time is getting a feeling for the culture which is there, and looking at EIT. EIT is a family-owned company. Having the same cultural layout or base that we have, and for Bluechips it's the same. So a German family running or developing founding and developing a company in Thailand with really the same spirit that we have, and a proper cultural fit. That's very seldom. And this is exactly why we did it.
Why they're a good fit. And it's that passion for quality engineering, passion for performance, and the way you support
passion
the customer.
for people.
Passion
for people is the most important topic. Quality, technology, all that kind of stuff, that's also necessary, but people is the most important thing.
No, absolutely. And it goes all the way back through the history of the business. One of the things I really like about Zollner and that stands out, and I've always, as I've watched the development of the industry, I'm always interested in the DNA of companies. What makes companies different? What makes the larger players different from each other? And Zollner's never wavered. It's been Zollner as we know it for as long as I've been in the industry, and that's 25 plus years. And you recognize that when you're in a Zollner facility, you recognize that when you're talking to a Zollner executive, and they've avoided that temptation to chase bright and shiny things, different operations. They know the most important word is service, and they deliver on that. Is that something that's just happened? Has that been a cultural core, or have you constantly had to maintain that?
So I think that was there from the beginning, because it's the spirit how our founder founded the company, and what he tried to teach us as young kids getting grown up in the company. He teaches us that how to handle customers, how to treat people is very important, and that's the cultural fit that we think is for the business that we are doing, which is more in technology, low volume, high mix, complex systems in a high technology field. I think this is why we're seen as a very reliable, long-term thinking and customer-oriented partner, and that's exactly the culture that was there from the beginning, and that we try to keep on and also develop further. Although we are growing on a global footprint, and that's one of the hard things to do, because it's not that easy. But that's something that we want to keep.
So valuable. And just on that note, it was an absolute delight to see Manfred here yesterday.
He's
looking well, and nice to see the father of almost the father of the German industry, but certainly of the Zollner group, and that, as you say, that identity remains in there. What I think is fascinating is there's lots of tradition in what you do, but there's also a desire to do new things. The partnership that you talked about with Luminovo, for example, the way you're embracing AI and new technologies, the way you're using your domain expertise as a manufacturer to match with other people's domain expertise in the application of AI or inspection or other things to do really good things. That's hugely valuable, and that's helping you stay in front, I guess.
Of course, also we try to keep our traditions, and we try to keep our culture. It's necessary that you look what is out there, what is changing, what are new things coming up, what can you embrace or what can you integrate in your business model in order to develop further. So that's a constant view that we have on such possibilities, and that was also the reasons for the acquisition that we made in the AI field with Tiki that we acquired already 3 years ago, and also the partnership with Luminovo in order to get more power in the whole AI arena, and also in the interface towards customers, towards suppliers, and that's exactly why we did this. And this is a constant view that we have on digitalization, automation, new technologies. What could the market require tomorrow? And this is exactly why we do this.
And I think it's fascinating that, we've talked about this in the past, and you said that it's not just about the factory floor; it's about business systems and supply
Right.
chains and stuff
Right.
like that. It's really nice to see so much investment and new technology in the supply chain, because when you look over the last 3 years, the supply chain's been hurting and it's caused problems. I personally kind of felt a little bit disappointed that we ended this recent crisis with so much inventory overhang, just like we did in the year 2000. I'm thinking 20 years, we haven't learned anything.
Yeah.
We
No.
have, but we need a much stronger digital thread through that supply
It's
chain.
always the same, and we talked about that a lot during the
Yeah.
years, because the cycles are getting worse. That's happening, and that's a given in my opinion. So the digitalization, the visibility in supply chain is one of the key
Yeah.
things. Look, we have about 7,000 suppliers, 300,000 products or parts that we purchase in
Yeah.
order to do the products for our customers. And without digitalization, you can't deal with that.
No.
And this was exactly the reason why we went into the whole AI thing and
Yeah.
in the partnership with Luminovo in order to get that connections
Yeah.
into the supply base and into customers more advanced.
Yeah.
Predictable, and the insights there,
Yeah.
and that's for us a must. Otherwise, we can't deal with the variety
No,
of
that's
supply
right.
chain.
And that's going to be huge, and that's going to play to what I talked
Yeah.
about earlier, which is agility in your manufacturing,
Yeah.
agility in your supply chain, your capability to move from
Yeah.
one place to the other. So, yeah, I think it's fundamental. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being Zollner, most importantly.
That's
and,
what we do.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you.